Justin Trudeau's tour bus was blockaded by Indigenous rights protesters for half an hour.
Nothing on me. I'm not going to hurt him. Just want to be acknowledged. I want to be heard.
And he was evacuated from the bus by the RCMP.
Justin Trudeau does not give a about Indigenous people.
Justin, why don't you engage with the protesters?
That was on my reserve, where he laid those flowers and that teddy bear. He did that for a photo op. The people from my reserve are uncomfortable.
Did you even saw this on the telly? No. Because the media did not want you to see it.
So Mocha told me about the blockade when it happened. He phoned me. He filmed a ton of it. He interviewed the protesters, the left-wingers and the right-wingers, even though he said their comments weren't particularly interesting. But what was interesting to him and to me was that Trudeau's bus was paralyzed because they were Indigenous and eco-protesters, two groups that Trudeau doesn't like to tangle with. I mean, that's part of his image, right? Remember the last time he tangled with an Indigenous protest? Remember this one? Yeah, so basically he's saying, I'm not going to talk to you because I disagree with you. And what I hear from that, and I think what millions of Quebecers heard from that is, if you disagree with me, if I ever became powerful, I would not represent you in Canada. You're a non-person to me, and I don't feel like I have to explain myself. It's deeply undemocratic what he did. So here's my story today, and here's why I give you a 10-minute preamble about all this. So one of our young reporters, I mentioned him a moment ago, he's 22, Mocha Bazirgan. He's originally from Turkey, and he was interrogated at a police station twice in Turkey as a teenager because he made YouTube videos that criticized the authoritarian regime in Turkey. So he prefers Canada's freedom, but he knows tyranny when he sees it. Can you imagine being a kid interrogated for your YouTube video at a police station? So he goes to Victoria, BC for us to meet up with Trudeau. Now, so did a bunch of other journalists, but they were in Trudeau's media bus. Mocha obviously was not. We flew him there on his own. We paid for his flight ourselves. So you've got a bunch of journalists on the media bus, and you've got Mocha not on any bus, but he finds them and they meet up. But would you look at this? There are protesters there too, a bunch of them. I didn't track all of them. I think there's some anti-lockdown, anti-vax protesters, but also environmentalist protesters and also Indigenous protesters. You can agree or disagree with them, but it's a democracy. And frankly, no one's been able to interact with the ruling class directly in 18 months since the ruling class has been in hiding, using the lockdown as an excuse. Parliament hasn't really been sitting, etc. Now, I'm going to play a few minutes of the protest for you. What they say isn't really the purpose of me showing you this clip. The purpose is to show you that it was a protest and then it blocked Trudeau's bus. Now, it went on for half an hour. I will not show you all of that, but Mocha was there for the whole thing. And actually online, he has sort of a sped up version of this to show how long it was. By the way, when Mocha got there, he was so interested in this blockade, he phoned me to tell me what was going on. He not what Trudeau said or what the protesters said, the fact that the bus was blocked, he thought that was interesting. I'm glad he phoned me. Here, just watch for a bit.
Justin Trudeau's tour bus was blockaded by Indigenous rights protesters for half an hour.
Nothing on me. I'm not going to hurt him. Just want to be acknowledged. I want to be heard.
And he was evacuated from the bus by the RCMP.
Justin Trudeau does not give a about Indigenous people.
Justin, why don't you engage with the protesters?
That was on my reserve, where he laid those flowers and that teddy bear. He did that for a photo op. The people from my reserve are uncomfortable.
Did you even saw this on the telly? No. Because the media did not want you to see it.
So Mocha told me about the blockade when it happened. He phoned me. He filmed a ton of it. He interviewed the protesters, the left-wingers and the right-wingers, even though he said their comments weren't particularly interesting. But what was interesting to him and to me was that Trudeau's bus was paralyzed because they were Indigenous and eco-protesters, two groups that Trudeau doesn't like to tangle with. I mean, that's part of his image, right? Remember the last time he tangled with an Indigenous protest? Remember this one?
That we invest in the middle class and in people working hard to join it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
People in grassy narrows are suffering from mercury poisoning.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for your donation tonight. I really appreciate the donation to the Liberal Party of Canada. And as we know,
Yeah, they didn't go too well. So instead of having his armed guards push the protesters away, like they pushed away our reporter, Drea Humphrey, Trudeau just killed time for 30 minutes. Did other things. He improvised, like in the theater when the next act isn't ready, so the MC does a song and a dance to keep the crowd entertained. He killed time. And they finally left. So Mocha had the story of the protest, the blockade, and we put up a tweet about it with a short video. It was news. Indigenous protesters blocking Trudeau in BC. I think that's news, don't you? And then a few days later, a left-wing, foreign-funded eco group called Dogwood tweeted basically the same thing, but from their point of view. That's fine. Fair enough, it did happen. Like I say, there were protesters from the left and from the right. But then David Akin, who is a Unifor journalist for Global News, whose own union dues go to run ads attacking the Conservatives, he weighed in. He saw that Dogwood tweet and he said that it was a lie. And he said that left-wing and right-wing journalists lie. It's just him and the rest of the insider media, who are the honest ones, don't listen to citizen journalists. Here's what he said. You think right-wing news outlets stretch the truth? How about this whopper from a left-wing advocacy group? Complete fake news. I was there. No helicopters were harmed during Trudeau's stop in Elizabeth May's riding. Fake news, eh? Here's what Dogwood said in reply to Akin. He said, we were just going off video from the Just in Canada YouTube channel and social media updates from people from the bus. What did you observe? And Akin said, no helicopter, for one thing, and a completely typical Trudeau event. Bus showed up, parked where it was supposed to, lots of RCMP around, a handful of people around the bus yelling about this and that. PM left the bus, late as usual. PM got on the bus, late as usual, normal. Well, I don't know about the helicopter thing, but I do know the bus was blocked and could not leave. We showed you that. But Akin said, in fact, it was one of the more sedate PM events during the week. I traveled with him. His access to or from the nursing home in Sandwich was never obstructed. Well, I don't think anyone said he couldn't get out of the nursing home. They said his bus was blocked. Akin says his bus was not blocked, ever, at any event I attended in the last week. Well, that's pretty categorical. Is David Akin telling the truth? Was Trudeau's boss never blocked ever? My friend Mocha was standing right there. He thought it was so newsworthy that the bus was blocked. He phoned me in real time to tell me. He filmed it. You can see it. He spoke to the blockaders. You can see that too. But David Akin says it never happened. And worse, he says anyone who claims it is just a right-wing fake news site or a left-wing fake news site. What's going on here? Is David Akin a full-out liar? I don't think so. I know David a little bit, or at least I used to. He worked with me at Sun News. Like most journalists, his natural inclination is to tilt to the left, or really to tilt towards power, let's be more honest. He hasn't lifted a finger to oppose his own union, using his own union dues to attack conservatives, so that tells you something about him. But like I say, he's the usual center-left establishment man who cares about maintaining his contact with power. But I don't think he'd lie so brazenly. I know him enough to know he's not a liar. So what happened? Why did he say that then? I think I know. I think that the Liberals, when they saw that their bus was blocked, they improvised. They said they were having so much fun at the event that they were going to extend the visit by half an hour. Really? And they herded the media, they managed the media, they massaged the media, they kept the media away from the blockade until the blockaders were done. In fact, that's what Akin basically says. But he doesn't realize it was to trick him. He says, Trudeau arrived on time at the LTC long-term care home, spent extra time visiting seniors because he really cares what they have to say. He left late because of that. And he responds to someone, Vitor, you've been on buses with media, and you must surely know that ambitious reporters would hardly bury such a story. Come on, man. So David Akin says Justin Trudeau left late because Justin Trudeau just was so interested what these seniors said at the LTC, the long-term care home. That's why. Trudeau was just spending so much time with the seniors, and you know that we'd never bury a story otherwise. Yeah, no, he wasn't with the seniors. That was a lie from Trudeau's spin doctors to the journalists. He was on the bus. Mocha saw him. He was rattled. His team of professional liars made the lie, told it to the journalists, who believed it. They'll believe anything and repeat it, won't they? I mean, put yourself in David Aiken's shoes. Who would you believe if you were David Aiken? The PM's communication staff, who've been so nice to you, and they just gave you such a lovely lunch, and they were so helpful with your last story, and they gave you such nice compliments about your last report. Wouldn't you believe them? Or would you really believe the right-wing and left-wing citizen journalists with an axe to grind? David Aiken knows which team he's on. He's on Team Establishment, Team Power, Team Insider. He's on the bus, the media bus, not the Trudeau bus. And the media bus was told a lie, and they believed it. I really don't blame David Aiken, my old friend, for believing a lie. He should probably be more skeptical or more curious. But I do blame him for believing the lie so deeply that when other outsiders prove with videotape that it was a lie, that Trudeau's bus really was blocked, instead of changing his mind or changing his story, he lashes out, calls us fake, calls us liars, and shows that indeed he is a uniform man. He's an insider. And he'd rather promote a Trudeau lie than tell the truth that was first reported by outsiders, citizen journalists like us. That's too bad. Stay with us for more from our citizen journalists. That's an excerpt from my daily show called the Ezra Levant Show. Normally it's behind a paywall and you have to pay $8 a month to get it. But during the course of the Canadian federal election, we're making it available for free to anyone. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and use the promo code ELECTION and you'll get it for free. I hope you'll like it. I hope you like it enough that you keep subscribing to it once the election's over. Go to rebelnews.com and don't forget that promo code ELECTION.